Hi, welcome to this episode of Live and Let. Today in our episode we have Kalyani joining from Singapore, and she is actually my sister-in-law. And no, I'm not trying to pick and choose my family because last episode was my husband, this episode is my sister-in-law. It's not like that. Many of us have kids who are in the range 1 year to 5 year old. What doctors say is kids at that age are like a sponge. They absorb everything, many things affect them, they learn a lot until they're 5. And as parents, we evolve too as the kids are growing up. In this era of pandemic, most of us resorted back to more screen time so that they could leave us alone. I am guilty of that too. But somehow, somewhere, we have to also teach kids to go out and play and go in the park, learn things, appreciate nature, read books. And I have so many wonderful friends who are amazing parents to their children, but I couldn't help but ask Kalyani to give us some tips because she has like this out of the box ideas that are so easy. She has it down. She reads a lot of books. She watches a lot of YouTube channels and things like that to learn those little tips and tricks to keep your kids busy screenless. And she has inculcated love for nature, appreciation for books, reading, imagination so well in her kids that I really wanted to do an episode with her. So thank you so much, Kalyani, for coming on to this episode, and welcome. And let's see, guys, what Kalyani has to say.
The internet is flooded with ideas to keep the kids busy. But the most important thing is to choose the right ideas which your kids will enjoy, and it identifies with your values. So one of the most important values which I'm sure all of us want to teach our kids is to be closer to nature, recycle, reuse and be earth friendly. So how do I do that? I try to limit the number of toys in my house to the bare minimum, and try to use commonly available props around the house or around the garden to keep them busy. For example, if the kids are out like this and they want to play, I might ask them to firstly go and find some sticks, arrange them size wise from the smallest to biggest, or make a beautiful design from them. Or if they're having their cars, maybe make a track so that the kids can drive their cars around it. Or sometimes keep them at a distance and ask them to jump or go crisscross, or have some treasure hunt where I'll hide the sticks in one corner and the kids go and fetch it. These similar ideas can be implemented at home with a set of spoons or a set of bowls or plates. For example, you can give some pulses or beans to the kids in one big bowl and ask them to transfer it to the other. Or ice is, works wonders with the kids. They love to play with it. Sometimes I even take the ice tray, add food color or even normal regular watercolors to it and freeze it with water. It's a nice thing for kids to see colorful ice, and they can use it to paint on paper. Whenever I cook, I keep one small portion of the dough in the fridge for the kids to play. So they can use it like Play-Doh, make different shapes with it. Going in the future, machine learning, AI will be applied in all fields very commonly. So the skills which our kids will require to work would not be more of data computing, less of that, but more of imagination and creativity. And how can we nurture that as parents? So for that, books are an excellent resource. They are like gifts sent by God to help us. Reading storybooks helps a lot. Depending on what mood of your child is, you can read them in the morning or in the evening. I borrow storybooks from the library. I don't want to spend on them, but I do invest on encyclopedia type of books which have tidbits of information about various topics, which have nice flaps which the kids can open and close and enjoy the books, appreciate different facts. I like to keep these books in the toy room because the kids keep on visiting them and learn these facts over a period of time. Inculcating love for nature helps the children to appreciate diversity, learn about colors, growth, ecosystem, different types of animals. And in order to help them in this journey of theirs, what we do is take them to the parks as often as possible. And apart from that, whenever we are stepping out of the house, if we happen to see some small creature or a different flower, we pause our journey there and appreciate that creature. Whenever it rains, we try to take the kids out in rain, or after the rains, we go and observe what differences have been made because of the rains. Some twigs have fallen down, some snails have come out, or there are small muddy puddles to play in. This becomes a really enjoyable activity. We also try to show them documentaries on Nat Geo and Discovery or channels like that, which shows them the real creatures in action across the globe. One of our favorite documentaries is Our Planet from BBC Earth. So whenever you do get time, do check it out. Dealing with tantrums is difficult for all parents. I mean, just yesterday Neva was asking me to join a biscuit which was broken, and there was a scene for like 10 minutes after that. But what I've realized is helping me, and I'm sure it will help most of the parents, is first to accept that kids, especially in the age group of 2 to 4 years old, are going to throw tantrums. So that helps us to be cool and not get worked up with the tantrum. The second thing which helps is to anticipate. For example, whenever I go out of the house, Neva has some tantrum or the other related to her shoes or her socks. So I always try to keep 10 minutes extra just to cater to her. And the third thing which has helped me a lot is to talk to the child after the tantrum is over. When the child is in a happy mood, just to mention what happened at that time, why were you upset, how can you channelize your anger or energy, how can you express yourself, maybe go and kick the pillow or stomp your feet or don't talk to mama for 5 minutes. So things like these help the period of tantrum to reduce. So right now, if they're going to throw tantrums for the next 10 months, maybe they'll mature in 7-8 months, and that will make our life easier. Kids are like a sponge. They absorb everything that is going around them, and their emotional quotient is very good. They generally understand 2 or 3 times more than what we think they do. So telling them the truth always helps. And it's not easy actually to tell them the truth, because sometimes they ask questions related to why was there an argument in the house, or some bad business or robbery which happened, or something related to death. It's extremely difficult to answer these questions, but I think it's important for us to be patient and answer them. I try my best to do that, because I believe that helps the child to mature. It helps them to understand different perspectives, to appreciate other people's point of view, and grow up to be better citizens of tomorrow.
Thank you, Kalyani, for coming onto the show and giving us some awesome tips to keep kids busy screenless. It's always good to have screen time for educational purposes, or some entertainment purposes like showing them cartoons and stuff. But unsupervised, uncontrolled screen time is not so good for child's brain. They need to learn more. So hopefully with Kalyani's tips, we all learned something here today. Her favorite author is Julia Donaldson, and we can probably look at her books and learn something more from them too. As she mentioned, YouTube is filled with different ideas to keep the kids busy. And all of this to have some tips and tricks handy to keep your kids busy without using too much screen time. With that, I would end today's episode, but until we meet next time, see ya.